this, right? And putting these slides together and taking Maddy's slides, I was struck about about how the hydrological story, the flooding story overlaps with the habitat story. Because the first problem is converting this vegetated habitats, all those habitats we saw listed, to this, what we call impervious surface. Roads, roofs, even lawn is not terribly pervious compared to something like this.
So Catherine, one question, I don't know if you have any clue on this, but we all know that Oneida Lake is very shallow.
Yes.
So if you're talking about dropping the water table, I mean, does that affect anything nearby?
Well, this is downstream from Oneida Lake.
Right.
But what it's going to affect, as you'll see in these maps, there are places like Phoenix and Fulton and other. So this here, Maddy has made a graph that's showing, again, those habitat types before, wetlands, upland forest, shrubland, old field. So it's all in some kind of vegetated habitat. And then you go to the right, this is after, and I believe this is after full build up, but I'm not sure. It's about now 75% impervious surface. So this is a huge change, over 1,400 acres.
So where are they proposing that water to go?
Well, that's a good question.
I think Liz's backyard is a good option, right?
Yeah.
We'll find out. Downstream.
We're all wondering where is it was.
Like that we anticipate 20 years of construction, and that the construction or the impervious surface that's part of the construction is not actually counted in the stormwater plan because it is temporary. So they're going to develop stormwater plans that don't consider this unless they're pressured by the public. And then again, it's not just a 1,400 acre micron issue. This is a regional issue, given all this other development. And this is a figure from Glenn Coyne. I'm not sure where he got it, but he said that there's going to be predicted 10,000 acres, not even just wetlands. This is just forest, grassland, and shrubland lost to housing, just all kinds of development that's going to come on the kids' land. That's going to be big. That's going to be part of that conversion. Yeah.
Do they know how much will be taken up by housing? Because I know in my school district, I've been anticipating the influx of the families from Micron or whatever, or school, and expanding.
Yeah. My guess is somebody's modeling that, maybe in the town level or the county level, but.
Yeah.
Was it the EIS?
It was the
Okay.
EIS.
Okay. I couldn't find this EIS, but if you found it, let me know. Okay, so some of you have probably seen this graphic. It's just showing where water goes. So that was somebody's question. If you have a forested watershed, a lot of it goes down to groundwater, what's called deep infiltration. A little bit of shallow infiltration, but about 50% will infiltrate right into the soil. Some of it's evapotranspirated because plants are taking up water, turning the atmosphere. And the runoff figure there is about 10%. And then as the watershed is developed, you go down to the lower right. Now look at that, runoff is increased to 55%, and you have much less of both the shallow and the deep infiltration. So what does that mean? You have less water going to recharge groundwater, and a lot more surface water runoff that's contributing to flooding. Next. Where will it go? Well, we saw those wetlands that Micron will use as mitigation sites. None of those wetlands are going to mitigate this flooding because they're in the wrong place. They're not downstream of Micron. They're great. They'll maybe mitigate local flooding, but they will not address the runoff from the Micron site. Stormwater management, they're required to mitigate 20 to 30% of the runoff. They're not factoring climate change into their models, and this is in contrast to an insurance company. They, for their flood models, they definitely incorporate climate change, but Micron so far does not. So these are some of the downstream impacts: increased high flows, decreased low flows, and pollution stormwater. Next. This is a map that was actually produced by, an insurance company, contractor. And what we're seeing here, it's a little hard to see, but here we have, this is Big Bend's on the Oneida River. And the darker the blue dots, the higher the chance of flooding. So look at Phoenix. So Phoenix, of course, not the Oneida River, but, so this is downstream from Three Rivers. And this is before Micron. This is before Micron's built. This is considered climate change. So think of, so we don't know how much worse it's gonna get, and I'll tell you why in the next slide or two. So how is Micron thinking about it? This is from the environmental impact statements. They say cumulative impacts cannot be reasonably quantified or predicted, even though that's what insurance companies do all the time. Local, state, federal regulations and permits exist. So we will follow those regulations, is what they're saying, but we're not gonna do any modeling. And that's a problem. Next. The claim that the cumulative flooding impact cannot be quantified is a choice. We need regional planning that fully considers flooding and climate change to hold Micron and associated development accountable to following these plans.
Doesn't the government already insist that they do this, or not? They get a permit, when they have to have done this.
They have to do, this is where our Christianity is here, maybe you know that. I think-
I don't know, how much, what modeling are required to do. When the developer comes in, I don't know how that,
Yeah,
what's, what are the rules?
yeah, I don't know either.
Well, part of the lawsuit does address inadequacies in the environmental statement, so flooding is considered an area where it was not adequately evaluated. So this is part of why the lawsuit becomes very significant, is that it's raising these important issues.
The one thing I can think of is that, maybe Micron is waiting for the state or the feds to tell them what to do, rather than doing their own modeling themselves.
What I can tell you is that the stormwater prevention plan was required as part of the scope of the final environmental impact statement. However, they've been working on that this year. So that was never submitted for public review, is my understanding. And in fact, there was a document added to the final environmental impact statement, but it never was given to public review, but OSIDA okayed it to be part of the final environmental. So this is again one of the causes within the lawsuit. And I can also tell you that today they're filing responses. So we're starting to get some information back from attorneys on the other side. Dick has a question.
What's interesting about this whole thing is that one of the earliest, when you Army Corps of Engineers were holding hearings at the Clay Town Hall,
Yeah,
people got up and talked about flooding. And it was like, who's buried in Grant's tomb? I mean, it was so
Yeah.
self-evident that you were replacing land with plants
right,
with hard surfaces. I
Right.
mean, this should have been, I'm told, I don't know anything about anything,
yeah,
except it didn't take a rocket scientist
Yeah.
to sit there and listen to that and say, there's a disaster looming.
yes, I agree.
And it doesn't take a
Can't
rocket
believe
scientist to know
that
that
has been addressed.
if there's flooding and the insurance will pay for some, who's gonna pick up the tab for the rest?
Good question.
Well, in County Clarity has historical flooding.
Yeah,
Well, the Lutheran church by the railroad tracks gets water in their basement. They've already had it happen. So, and not due to Micron, this was prior to Micron coming. So now what?
I think it's called town play for a reason.
So
Yeah.
Catherine,
Yeah.
they probably don't want this, you didn't have a slide that addressed it, and maybe you don't know. But was there never any encouragement of them to use porous tarvia to actually get water infiltrating on the site? Cause there's a lot of rain garden measures that Syracuse was pushing for a
Right,
long
right,
time.
right.
They know that we're a wet area.
Yes.
They know if they need this parking, that they should do something. But I understand the way they're feeling in that site. They probably don't want the water to infiltrate.
Yeah, I think they just want a little
So
bit of water.
potentially they would push back against having porous
Yeah,
pavements.
I mean, there's issues with porous pavement, I think it kind of clogs up easily, I'm not an expert at this, and you may have a better answer, but, I think they just want to take the easy way, which is to try to lower the water table and just direct the water off.
That was my assumption, because I didn't
Yeah.
see anything in the EIS about it,
Yeah.
and I was looking for it because of the rain garden.
Yeah.
Plans that Syracuse was pushing. but-
And I haven't even looked at the stormwater plan, like I said, Maddie was supposed to, I'm gonna blame her for doing it. But what I get from her slides, talking to her is this is, like someone said, a disaster waiting to happen.